Hello, 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 and welcome to this week's lesson. Today we are going to do a roundup of what we've been covering on fractions, so a little sort of tour through fractions, and we are focusing on the level of education that is expected for 7 to 9-year-olds in the UK. So we are looking at years 3 and years 4. But we are also here for people who feel they want a bit more of a challenge and they are younger and they just want to see what comes next. We are also here for people who are older and find fractions a little bit confusing and know that it would be helpful if they had the chance, in the security of being online and nobody else knowing that they were looking at this work, to just see the earlier work on fractions again, to just help them with that understanding, because that is brilliant, and that is one of the main benefits of online teaching, is that you can actually just feel totally relaxed and know that you can have a go and not worry about feeling anxious, okay, because we're all here together. So hello, you just joined. Have you just joined for the first time ever, or have you just joined this lesson? You're very good at fractions. Oh, that's marvelous. So you should be whizzing through all the things that we're going to do today then. Yeah, so hello. So we're looking at the brain teasers and I can see answers are flying in. So we are using greater than or less than. So are 5 sevens greater or less than 40? 5 sevens are 35. So they are less than 40, aren't they? So for 5 sevens and the 41, we need the less than sign. Okay, so 5 times 7 is less than 40. That's what we need, a less than sign, okay? So the next one, 6 twos and 7 twos. Well, do we even need to work that out? Do we even need to say what are 6 twos, what are 7 twos? Well, 6 twos is going to be less than 7 twos, isn't it? Because 7 twos is another jump of 2. So 6 twos is less than 7 twos. 10 divided by 2, 12 divided by 2. So the same thing. If you had 10 sweets and you had to share them between you and a friend, and you had 12 sweets and you had to share them between you and a friend, you're going to get more each with 12, aren't you, than you do with 10. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 10 divided by 2 is less than 12. So the next bit, there are 50 children in a school. 15 of the children are girls. So 50, 15. How many more boys than girls? Two-part question. How many more boys than girls? Did I see anybody answer that? So 50 children, 15 are girls. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah. So that means that 35 are boys. So 15 are girls, 35 are boys. 35 take away 15 equals 20. 20 more boys than girls. 20 more. 20 more boys than girls. Now, Mr. Patel. Yeah, you got it right. Good, 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 good. Mr. Patel, what did Mr. Patel have on his number board? He writes a number. Lee finds half the number. Kim finds a quarter of the number. Lee's answer is 5 more than Kim's. What is the number Mr. Patel started with? Says the bar model may help. Let's see how it does. So there's the bar model. Okay. That's half. And this is a quarter. What do we know? We don't know the number Mr. Patel started with. We know that Lee finds half of the number. So that's Lee. He finds, or she, finds that bit. Kim finds a quarter. So this is Kim in here. Okay. We know that Lee's answer is 5 more than Kim's. Well, a half is double a quarter. So if it's 5 more, that bit must be 5. That's 5. So Lee's bit is 5 plus 5, which is 10. Kim's bit is 5. What number did Mr. Patel start with? If half of it is 10, what number did Mr. Patel start with? Mr. Patel started, the whole thing must be 20. The whole thing must be 20, okay? So let's just think what they said. Sometimes these word problems, we can get a little bit anxious and then they stop us thinking a little bit. Now, we know that Lee found half, so we've drawn a bar model, okay? we've drawn a bar model. And on our bar model, Lee has half. Because there's the whole thing. And Lee found half of it. So there's half of it. Okay, there's half of it. Kim found a quarter of it. Kim found a quarter. So Lee found half. Kim found a quarter. Okay. Lee's answer is 5 more than Kim's. So there's Lee's. Lee's got a half. Kim's got a quarter. We know that 2 quarters make a half. And Lee's answer is 5 more. So a quarter must be 5 because Lee's got a half and Kim's got a quarter. Half is twice as big as a quarter. And we know that it's 5 times more. So each quarter must be 5. So we can either say then each quarter is 5, so 4 5s are 20, or we know then that Lee's half must be 10, 2 10s are 20. Okay, so we just have to take our time, and bar models can help. Sometimes we can hear and think, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And we sort of panic a little bit, but we just take our time, then it can be okay. So brain teaser out of the way. Hopefully brains feel well and truly teased. You can see the bar model on the screen now. It's gone a bit bigger. Yeah, so Lee was a quarter, Lee was a half, Kim was a quarter. That's the whole thing. We know that Lee had 5 more. So we know that bit. We know a quarter is 5. And then we can use that to help us build up. Okay. This is a roundup lesson on fractions. So let us do a quiz just to wake you up, wake those brains up. Let's just zoom straight into a quiz. So let's just find the right quiz. Year 3 and 4, quiz number 1. Here we go. Let's get our quiz brains on. Okay, let's get our quiz brains on. And while you're doing the quiz, I'm going to write up the next activity. We can use the screen. Let's have a little look. Okay, let me get some things out to help us. So once you have finished, if you don't press submit, so that we can go through the quiz together with you still being able to see your answers, okay? If you don't press submit, then we can go through the quiz together. And just go through your answers. I'm just getting things out here I need to go through. Yeah, okay, got all my things I need. So once you finish, just leave your quiz on. Yeah, we did a quiz last week, exactly. We do quizzes every week, otherwise the pupils go berserk. Quizzes, Miss Nikki, quizzes. So we do quizzes every week. Students love the quizzes. So do the quiz and don't press submit. Oh, okay, don't worry. If you press submit, do not worry. It just makes it more interesting when I go through. If you can look at what you put in, you just have to remember what you answered, okay? Don't worry. Don't worry. Just leave your quiz there. If you've pressed submit, don't worry. Now, we have got a number of different answers for the first question, and there is only one of them that is correct. And again, for question 2, so far, question 3, we've only got one answer. Okay, so don't worry about accidentally pressing submit. It's absolutely fine. So let's have a look, go through these answers. So we've got a range of suggestions for question 1, and only one of those answers is correct. So question 1 asked us what 3/4 of 12 was. What 3/4 of 12 was. So I'm going to just go back onto the big screen so I can drop you down and have a look. 12 counters here, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Now, what is 1/4 of 12? The unit fraction, 1/4 of 12. So that means we have to put 12 in 4 equal groups. 4 what's are 12? Well, from our tables, we know that 4 3s are 12. If we didn't know, we just have to keep sharing out until we got there. So 4 3s are 12. Okay. So when I put 12 into 4 equal groups, I quarter 12. 1 quarter is 3. Okay. 2 quarters are 6. 3 quarters are 9. 4 quarters are 12. So 3 quarters of 12, which is the first question, 3 quarters of 12 is 9. 3 quarters of 12 is 9. We come back down here and have a look. If we put them into groups of 4, we can only get 3 groups of 4 because 3 4s are 12. So 4 is 1/3 of 12. 2/3 of 12 is 8. 3/3 of 12 is 12. That's 12 in thirds. So 4 is 1/3 of 12. 3 is 1/4 of 12 because 4 3s are 12. 4 3s are 12. 3 4s are 12. So that's 12 in thirds. 1/3, 2/3. But 4 3s are 12. That's 12 in quarters. Okay. So that does cause confusion for a lot of people. They get muddled up in the 3s and the 4s. So the answer, 3 quarters of 12, is 9. 1 quarter is 3. 2 quarters are 6. 3 quarters are 9. Okay. 3 quarters is 9. Yeah. So 9 is the answer to the first one. In descending order, what could come next? So descend in order means that we get smaller. So let's have a look at our fraction chart. Let's come down and look at our fraction chart. Okay, let's have a look at our fraction chart. Let's come down and have a look at it. There it is, our fraction chart. So in descending order, so we had 3 quarters, 1/2, 1/3. So they were the fractions on the question. 3 quarters, 1/2, 1/3. So we can see that 3 quarters is this much, 1/2 is this much, 1/3 is this much. So we can see that we've gone from that size to that size to that size. So the next one has to be smaller than 1/3. And what are our options? 2/8. Well, let's have a look. Let's get a piece of card out. There's 1/3. Has to be smaller. Has to be smaller. So 2/8 would work. Or we know that 2/8 is the same as a quarter, isn't it? So that would work. Yes. 4/8. Well, no. 4/8 is the same as 1/2. So we have to move it over there to be 4/8. That's bigger than 1/3. So that can't work. 2/6. 2/6 is the same as, so it's not smaller than. So the answer is 2/8. Okay, the next answer is 2/8. 2/8 is the next smallest one. 2/6 is the same, but we're going in descending order. Okay. Which fraction is the same as 1/4? Well, there's 1/4. Oh, no, sorry, I was looking down at 4/12. So it's still 1/8, 2/8. Oh, I'm mixing questions up, which is not very helpful. Let me go back over there, please. So the descending order questions were 3 quarters, 1/2, 1/3. Okay, and which answer could come next? Could it be 1/4, 4/8, or 4/12? Right, so there's 1/3. We can see 1/4 is smaller. 4/8 is the same as 1/2, so that can't come next. 4/12, 1, 2, 3, 4 is bigger than 1/4. 4/12 is the same as 1/3. Okay, so 1/4 comes next. 1/4 is smaller than 1/3. So question 3, which fraction is the same as 1/4? So 1/4 is equal to. So there's 1/4. Is it equal to 2/8? Yes, it is. Is it equal to 4/12? Oh, it's equal to 3/12, but not 4/12. Is it equal to 2/6? No, because 2/6 is the same as 1/3. 4/12 is the same as 1/3, which is bigger than 1/4. So 1/4 is the same as 2/8, equals 2/8, or 3/12, but that wasn't an option. Okay, 2/8. So now that we've gone through those, let's end the voting, and you can see how many you got correct. Okay. How many? Okay, so you get your results. But there were some differences in answers, so we just need to just be careful. Okay, good. So let's close that and let's start doing some fraction work all around, because this is the last week that I'm going to do some fraction work with us. Next week, and I've already started moving on with year 1 and year 2, we are going to do some work on time. Okay, next week we're going to do some work on time. So well done for you for those. Let's have a look then at doing some work. Let's carry on with our equivalents. Okay, I'm going to drop the screen down. I'm going to look at this chart. Okay, and tell me what other fractions you know are equivalent to 1/4, 1/3, and 1/2. So let's start off with 1/4. Let's start off with fractions that are equivalent to 1/4. And I'm going to move the fraction chart over as well, so that you can have a look at them both together. What other fractions are equivalent to 1/4? What other fractions are equivalent to 1/4? Now remember, you've got to look at the denominator and the numerator. There is a ratio. For 1/4, the bottom is 4 times as big as the top. That ratio will stay there all the time for equivalent fractions. Okay, so what other fractions? You can look on the chart here and say, well, there is 1/4. What other fractions can you see from the fraction chart that are the same? What other fractions can you see from the fraction chart are the same? So if I line up with 1/4, what else can you see that are the same? So 2/8 are the same, aren't they? So we can have 2/8. And remember what I said? Top and bottom relationship. Is 8 4 times as big as 2? Like 4 is 4 times as big as 1? Yeah. 4 2s are 8. So it's the same ratio. Still a bit glitchy for some people. Okay, but you can hear me. What else? Is something else on here using the fraction chart? What other fractions do you know are equivalent to 1/4? So 2/8 is how many 12ths are equivalent to 1/4? I know it's grey, it's dark down there, but you can work it out. Exactly, 3/12. Now, using that ratio where the bottom is 4 times as big as the top, tell me how many 16ths are equal to 1/4. How many 16ths are equal to 1/4? How many 16ths are equal to 1/4? 4/16. Think about your 4 times tables, multiples of 4. How many 20ths are equal to 1/4? How many 20ths are equal to 1/4? The bottom has to be 4 times as big as the top. 5/20. How many 24ths are equal to 1/4? 4 5s are 20, aren't they? 6. How many 40ths are equal to a quarter? How many 40ths are equal to a quarter? How many 40ths are equal to a quarter? Exactly. The bottom has to be 4 times as big as the top. How many 60ths are equal to a quarter? Ooh, tax your brain now. How many 60ths are equal to a quarter? Halve it and halve it again. Exactly. Halve it and halve it again. How many hundredths are equal to a quarter? How many hundredths are equal to a quarter? 25. Okay. So all these equivalent fractions, you can see the relationship between the bottom and the top because you are splitting that number into 4 equal groups. So if I split 100 into 4 equal groups, each group is 25. That is 1/4 25. Split 60 into 4 equal groups, I get 15 in each group. 1/4 is 15. 40 into 4 equal groups, I get 10 in each group. Okay. Yeah. No, not 246 hundredths. Think about 60. Think about 60. So if 15 60ths, then if we're doing by a factor of 10, there's going to be 150 600ths, isn't it? Yeah. Yep, wait, this is just a maths one. So let's think now then about thirds. Let's think now about thirds. Okay. Let's think about what fractions are equivalent to a third. Let's start off by using our fraction board. What can we see on here? Okay, a third. Well, how many sixths is the same as a third? How many sixths? Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel. It's Bright Idea Education, our YouTube channel. All these lessons go onto YouTube. Okay. How many sixths? 2 sixths. Okay. 2 sixths. How about twelfths? Remember? How about twelfths? Remember? Yeah, we get lots of clicks on our YouTube channel. We do. We are going to be doing English. We are, absolutely. We are going to move on to English and science and all other subjects. We are a growing company. So at the moment, we're just doing maths, but we absolutely are going to move on to other subjects. And we are going to try doing some English ones as well. So how many twelfths? 4 twelfths. Remember, because 4 3s are 12. 3 4s are 12. Okay, so here we are, relationship. The bottom is 3 times as big as the top. 3 2s are 6. 3 4s are 12. Okay, let's think about our 3 times table. Okay. So how many ninths are equivalent to 1/3? Yeah, we're going to do science as well. How many ninths? Now it's maths, exactly. How many ninths are equivalent to 1/3? How many ninths? How many ninths are equivalent to 1/3? Remember, it's got to be the ratio, 3 times as big. Yeah, so divide 9 by 3 and you get 3. Okay, let's think about the 3 times table then. How many 15ths are equal to 1/3? How many 15ths are equal to 1/3? Divide 15 by 3 and what do you get? Exactly. Okay, how many 30ths are equal to 1/3? How many 30ths? It's still that relationship. How many 30ths are equal to 1/3? How many 30ths? Divide 30 by 3 and you get 10. How many 60ths are equal to 1/3? How many 60ths are equal to 1/3? Yeah, but not 30, no. I thought I saw 30 there. 20. 3 20s are 60. How many 90ths are equal to a third? How many 90ths are equal to a third? 3 watts are 90. 3 times what is 90? Exactly. Okay, let's think about our 3 times table. How many 36ths? How many 36ths are equal to a third? How many 36ths are equal to a third? Yeah, straight away. We know our 3 times table, Miss Nikki. We know our 3 times table. Okay, let's do halves. I started off with the harder ones. So now we should absolutely be throwing the equivalent fractions of a half. Come on, let's have a look. Look at our chart. You can quickly see quarters. I can see sixths. I can see eighths. I can see tenths. I can see twelfths. Easy. Come on, let's exactly. It's just come on, let's see them coming quick and fast. In a row. Tell me quickly. Let me see them. Come on. Well, half is equal to half, obviously. But come on, let me see. Quick, 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 quick. 3/6, exactly. Come on, let me see. 5/10. Thank you. Come on, let's see. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Not 2/6. Yeah, into decimals. We're doing fractions at the moment. Thank you very much. Somebody's just said, I'm going to get them all in a row. 4/8. Thank you. Come on, let's be quick. Let's get them out. Not 6/6. 6/6 is the whole thing, isn't it? Look, 6/6 is the whole thing. Half is just 3 of them. Half is just 3 of them. Okay, how many 50ths are equal to a half, please? How many 50ths are equal to a half? How many 50ths are equal to a half? (15/30ths) has just come through. How many 50ths? Yeah, laggy, laggy, laggy. I thought you were. I'm just checking now. I thought things are a bit too slow, and I'm expecting you to come through thick and fast. Yeah, 25/50ths. Thank you very much. That was lagging, not your minds. Yep. And how about, somebody said, how about 30/60ths? Okay. How many 100ths, please? How many? Yeah, it's there already. Okay. So let's open up our equivalence chart now. And let's make sure that we are really, really focused on those ratios. Really, really focused on those ratios. Okay. Really focused on those ratios to know that when we're doing equivalence, if it's a quarter equivalent, it has to be 4 times bigger than the top. The denominator has to be 4 times bigger. The denominator has to be 3 times bigger. The denominator has to be twice as big. The ratio is always the same. Whatever you divide the denominator by, you have to divide the numerator by the same thing. Now that's for unit fractions. It is exactly the same for non-unit fractions. Okay, so we're going to do some more of those. Help me out with this one then. Oh, let me cover that bottom bit. Help me out with this one then. What goes in here? A whole row of a quarter. We've just done this. Really easy. So what goes in here? What's the missing denominator? Thank you. 2/8. What's the missing numerator? No. 6/12 is a half. 6/12 is a half. We are equivalent to a quarter. Divide 12 by 4. What do you get? 3. 3/12 is a quarter, not 4/12. That is a third. Okay, what's the missing denominator? What's the missing denominator, please? Here. Missing denominator. 16. Thank you. Missing numerator here. 25. And the last missing numerator. The last missing numerator. Not 250. 250 would be half. Thank you. 125. 125. Okay, 125. Yeah, so all of those, the ratio the same, the ratio the same, keeping that ratio the same. So let's have a look at this question. What's the answer to this question, please? What's the answer to this question? Exactly. I am thinking of a number. 1/4 is 6. So what is the number? 4 6s are 24. Exactly. Exactly. So it has another part to this question now. What is my number? Yeah. Will 1/3 of my number be more or less than 6? Will 1/3 of my number be more or less than 6? Now thank you. Now, it always catches us out, doesn't it? Remember that as the denominator gets bigger, the fraction gets smaller. Okay, so 1/2 is bigger than 1/4. 1/4 is bigger than 1/8. Okay, look, there's 1/3, there's 1/4. So if you had a pie or a chocolate bar and you shared it between 3 people, you would get more than if you shared it between 4 people. Okay, so 1/4 is 6. 1/3 of 24 is 8. 1/3 of 24 equals 8. So is 1/3 bigger or smaller than 1/4? Bigger or smaller? Okay. If you split it into less groups, there is more in each group. So 1/3, as many of you have said, is bigger than 1/4. Okay, 1/3 is bigger than 1/4. 1/3 is bigger than 1/4. Okay, so well done. Let's have a look what else I've got here to trick your brains, to get your brains really thinking about fractions. Okay, we have got some sequencing to do. We have got some sequencing to do. So what are the next 2 numbers in these sequences? What are the next 2 numbers in these sequences? Let's start off with sequence number 1. Okay, so we've got 12 sevens, 11 sevens, 10 sevens. What are the next 2 numbers? Okay, they are going down in sevens, aren't there? There were 12 of the sevens, and there were 11 sevens, and there were 10 sevens. So the next 2 are 9 sevens and 8 sevens. Okay, 9, 2, and 8. Okay, we are stopping in about 10 minutes. Okay, we stop about 1:45. Okay, so it's not much longer. If you can just stay till the end. If you have to do your home learn, it's absolutely fine. Don't worry, you get on with that. Okay, so next one, let's have a little look. The next sequence. What are the next 2 numbers in this sequence? Next 2 fractions. Oops, just hide that one a little bit so we don't get distracted. What are the next 2 numbers in this sequence? 4 11s, 6 11s, 8 11s. They're jumping up in 2s, aren't they? 4, 6, 8. So 10 11s, 12 11s. Okay? Yeah? Or, quite right, you could say 1 and 1 11th. So 1 whole and 1 11th. I'll accept that as well. Absolutely. Okay, what are the next 2 numbers in this sequence? We've got mixed number here, whole numbers and fractions of a number. So that's question 3. So we've got 3 and 1/3, 3. 2 and 2/3. What's going to come next? You get mixed fractions. It can be a little bit more tricky, can't it? Mixed fractions can be a little bit more tricky. Okay, so if you look, what's happened here, it was 3 1/3, then it's 3, so we've gone down in 1/3. Okay, when we took 1/3 away from 3, we had 2 2/3. So next it's going to be 2 1/3, and then it's going to be 2. Okay, 2 1/3, and then it's going to be 2. Well done. Okay, we are counting back. Okay, it's like a number line, so we're taking away a third each time. 3 1/3, then it was 3, then it's 2 2/3, 2 1/3, 2. Okay, I'm going to do some number line work in a minute, so if you find these last two tricky, we're going to do a little bit of work around these. Okay, so we have got 12 3/5, 13 1/5, 13 4/5. What's it jumping up in? This one gives you a clue. This is the one to really home in on. This is an ascending order. They're getting bigger now. So they're jumping up in 2/5 exactly. So can you add 2/5 onto here? You add another fifth, you're going to make a whole, aren't you? So this is going to be 14 1/5. Jumping up in 3/5. This is going to be 14 1/5. And 2/5, sorry. Because that's a jump of 3/5. From 1/5 to 4/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. So add 1/5 to that, you're going to get to 14. You've still got 2/5 left. And then add 2/5 and 3/5, make a whole. So the next one's going to be 15. Okay, so, all right, we're not ready for that. Let's do some number line counting, because this is where we got a little bit tricky-bicky last week. We got a bit tricky-bicky last week. So let's do some counting on a number line, okay? So let's do some counting on a number line to help us, and then we're going to do a quiz, okay? I am going to give you some common denominators. Yes, we are so running out of time. Let me just do this number line work, then we'll do some common denominators. I've got that to do as well. We always run out of time. Okay, so I've got a number line in eighths here. Okay, so if you were going to add 3/8 and 4/8, what would you get? 3/8 and 4/8. So we're on 3/8 and we take a jump of how many? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get to 7/8. Okay, now let's have a look where we go across the whole. This is where we are getting a little bit pickly. Okay, this is where we are getting a little bit in a pickle. Okay, so if we were going to do this addition, we've got 2 1/4. So there's 2 and there's 1/4. Okay, and we have to add 2 quarters to it. So 1, 2. So the answer is 2 3/4. 2 3/4. Okay, we had 2 1/4. There's 2 and there's 1/4. And we had to take 2 quarter jumps. 1, 2. So we ended up with 2 3/4. Yeah? Let's have a look at this one. This is where we were getting a little bit confused when we had mixed numbers and we were crossing that whole number. That's why I put the number line here. So we've got 3 1/4, take away 5/4. Can you do that for me? Looking at the number line, can you do that for me? Can you do that for me? It's a subtraction, yep. Okay, so start on 3 1/4, which is here. There's the 3 whole. There's 3 1/4. Okay, there's 3 1/4. and you have got to take 5/4 of a jump back. Okay, 5/4 of a jump back. So this is the number line. There's the whole numbers. And between the holes, you've got quarter intervals. So 0, 1/4, 2/4, or a half, 3/4, a whole, 1/4, 2/4, or a half, 3/4, 2, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 3, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4. Okay, so this subtraction says you are starting with 3 1/4. So there's 3 and there's 1/4. And you have to take 5/4 jumps backwards. So let's jump back, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it got us back to 2. So the answer is 2. And we can look at that, can't we? Because 5/4 is a whole 1 and 1/4. So we can take that 1/4 away and take a whole 1 away, and we get to 2. Okay? So let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at another one, and then we're going to do some common denominators. Okay. 1/4, 1 1/4 plus 2/4. Can you do that one for me? 1 1/4 plus 2/4. One and 1/4. Yeah, great. I'm glad you do. Fantastic. Thank you for letting me know. Sometimes if we haven't seen number lines with fractions on them, we get a little bit confused. And then once we understand how the number line is helping us, it can jump in there. So thank you for telling me. Okay. So we're starting with 1 whole 1 and 1/4. So there we are. 1 whole 1 and 1/4. And we are adding on 2/4. So let's jump 2/4. 1, 2. So we come to 1 whole 1 and 3/4. Yeah, so that's just showing you how a number line can help you. A number line can help you. So the other thing we said we're going to work on, and we just want to do some work on this quickly before we go to the last quiz, is some common denominator work, okay? Some common denominator work just before we go. So let's come back up to this on the big board, okay? So when we are adding and taking away fractions, it's easy when the denominators are the same, isn't it? So if we did this, denominators are the same, we can just say, oh, 4/5 and 1/5 is 5/5. Oh, 5/5, that's a whole one. Okay, when we've got the denominators that are the same, it's easy. Same thing for takeaway. 7/8 take away 2/8. Denominators are the same. Oh, well, obviously it's 5/8. Yeah, can't simplify it anymore, so we leave it as that. It's when we have denominators that are not the same that it becomes tricky. So when we have to do things like this. Okay, now we're adding fractions. I'm glad you understand. Thank you very much for giving me that feedback. That's really helpful. Okay, so now we have to add fractions, and they've got different denominators. Okay, it's not so easy. So we have to make them all have the same denominator. And remember what we said about equivalent fractions? The ratio has got to be the same. So if we're going to find an equivalent fraction of 1/4 to have the same denominator as 12ths, it's still got to have the same ratio. So when we look across here, we can see they're all in a family. Okay, these are all in a family. We can see that actually the lowest common multiple here is 12, because 3 goes into 12, 4 goes into 12. So I can make them have the same denominator. 12 I don't need to change. So 12 can stay as 12. Okay, the two 12s can stay the same. Yeah, but I have to make the third and the quarter into 12ths. I have to make those two into 12ths. So 12 just stays the same. Now, if I'm going to put this 1/3 as 12ths, what did I do to the denominator to make it 12? What did I do to 3 to make it 12? what do I have to do to 3 to make it 12? I had to multiply by 4. Okay, so I've got to do exactly the same to the numerator. I've got to multiply it by 4. So 4 ones are 4. And we know that 1/3 is the same as 4/12. We know that. We did it earlier. 1/3 is the same as 4/12. We did it earlier. 1/4 is the same as how many 12ths? What do I have to do to the 4 to make it 12? I have to multiply by 3. 3 4s are 12. So I have to do the same. Okay. And we know we did it earlier. 1/4 is the same as 3/12. We did it earlier. Now I have them all over the same denominator. Now, thank you for rejoining us. Now I have them all over the same denominator. I made them all into equivalent fractions that had a denominator of 12. Now it's easy because they're all over 12. 3 and 4 is 7 and 2 is 9. So altogether that is 9/12. That is not the end of the story though. That is not the end of the story. Don't forget your 2, 3 and 4, but you had the 2/12 as well. Because we can simplify that fraction, what can we divide the top and the bottom by? They're both in the 3 times table. 3 3s are 9, 4 3s are 12. So 9/12 is equivalent to 3/4. So I can simplify at the end. Always look to simplify at the end. Okay, let's just do one more. And then we will do our quiz. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going to have 2/5 plus 3/4 plus 4/20. Now, if we know our tables, and we should, class is going to finish in 5 minutes. Okay? If we know our tables, and we can see a family of numbers here. Straight away, we can see, actually, we don't need to go any higher than 20 to make them have the same denominator, because 4 goes into 20 and 5 goes into 20. So I can leave my 20, that's as they are. 4/20 is unchanged, okay? But if I'm going to change my quarters into 20ths, what do I need to do to 4 to make it 20? 4 what's a 20? I need to multiply it by 5. Okay, so I have to do the same to the top. 5 3s are 15. Okay, and we know that 15/20 is the same as 3/4. We know it is the same ratio. Let's have a look. I've got to make my 5th to 20th. Well, 4 5s are 20. So I multiplied that by 4. I have to do the same to the top. 4 2s are 8. So I have now made them all into equivalent fractions having the denominator of 20. Now I can add up. 8 and 15 is 23, and 4 is 27. Improper fraction. I can make a whole out of that. 20/20 leaves me with 7/20 left over. Can I simplify that? Is there a common factor of 7 and 20? No, there is not. Okay, because 3 7s are 21. So the end number is 1 and 7/20. Okay, so just think about putting them all over the same denominator. Work systematically. Okay, decide what the common denominator is going to be, and then you can convert them all to the equivalent fraction. Remember, whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do the same to the numerator. So let's zoomy on with the quiz to finish off. And I won't have time to go through all of these, so we're just going to have to give you the scores. Quiz 2, years 3 and 4. Off we go. Okay, so thinking about what we learned in this lesson. Okay, and I hope this work on fractions has helped you. Remember, all our lessons go on to our YouTube channel. So any lessons that you missed, or if you'd like to go over these things again, watch the other lessons, please. Watch the lessons that you did not see if you joined us later on. Watch the other lessons. Okay. And then you will be able to have more time on fractions, especially these common denominators. If they are causing you a little bit of a headache, then watch the lessons and you will be able to see and have more time working with fractions, okay? So just watch the other lessons. Next week, we are moving on to time. A 2/5 of 20, work out what 1/5 is, and then you can say what 2/5 are, okay? Two and 2/5 is 1 and 1/5 plus what? Okay, if you look at that as a sum, think what do I have to add to 1 and 1/5 to make 2 and 2/5? It's quite easy. Those of you who have said 2, if you add 2 to 1 and 1/5, you get 3 and 1/5, which is not the answer. If you add 1/5 to 1 and 1/5, you get 1 and 2/5, which is not the answer. It's 2 and 2/5. So think carefully. What would make sense? What would make sense? 1/5 of 20 is 4. So what are 2/5 of 20? 1/5 of 20 is 4. What are 2? Yeah, press submit because I haven't got time to go through it with you, okay? So I'm going to end the voting. I'm going to share results. Okay, so we've got lots of lessons on fractions on our Bright Idea Education YouTube channel. So please have a look on there if you've only joined us recently, or if you still think, actually, I could do with going over this common denominator stuff a bit more. There's lots of that on the year 3 and year 4 fractions lessons, okay? So you can go on the Bright Idea YouTube channel and you can still pretend that it's live and do the questions and see the answers coming up. So get some more practice in. There's more practice there for you to have. Good luck with your fractions at school. Next week, it's time for time. So we will see you next week, okay? If you didn't do so well, then you need to look at the other lessons that are on our YouTube channel. And you can look at the year 1 and 2 lessons as well. So that will help you too. Take care, everybody. And I will see you next week. Take care. Lovely to be with you. Again, Rexy says bye. Well done, everyone. You take care. And I will see you next week, next Tuesday. Tell lots of people about the lessons so we get other people joining as well. Take care. Bye.